couple of years back, this is probably, I mean, in a way, it's a little bit sad that I'm admitting this, but it's just the truth. But one of the greatest days of my life was my mate's wedding, Fenner. And I was the master of ceremonies. And I was absolutely shitting myself. Like, I practiced it. I practiced my speeches and I had introductions to everyone. And mate, the response I had was unreal. Like, people were coming up to me saying, "Are you a professional speaker?" And I was like, "Are you taking a piss?" And they were like, were you hired?" I was like, "No, I'm Fenner's mate. I went to school with him." And they're like, "You were unbelievable." It's like, you made the entire day. And people kept coming up to you, "Can I buy you a drink?" You were unbelievable. How did you get that much confidence? I was like, I was shitting myself the whole time. And like, you were brilliant. And this, mate, I can't, like, it lasted probably for about 6 or 8 weeks. I had a glowing, like, this love that I received from people. And I think from the challenge of going through it myself, I thought, I was just like on top of the world. I felt I was going to bed imagining me doing the speeches again. And I was like, oh, I could have said that. And I was like pretending how I could have done it better and reeling over this thought. But my ramblings being that when you connect to something like that and you have a feeling of connection, a real deep connection with other people and maybe achieving something, which for me was a blend of both, I had this glowing, like, you couldn't affect me in that space of time. It was just wonderful. So I know I'm rambling a little bit there, but my point is that story. Having kind of read into a little bit of this stuff, and I'm obviously far from an expert, but I kind of understand that there are things in life and human connection, social connection is just so important to us. And that's where this gets a little convoluted, because social media can do that. Like when you send me a little clip or a little comment and I just like chuckle, like laugh, and it's like, you get, I suppose that is a dope. You get like a little hit and there's a little connection and it is really warming, and like, oh, I've got to speak to that guy if you haven't spoken in a while. But the kind of that like and that underlying need for approval and to get that hit of a dopamine spike that you get, it can be quite dangerous, and it is avoidable, and there are healthier, longer lasting alternatives.
So what you're saying is that, so when we look at that story, because I don't know that we disagree too much from what you're saying. When you look at that story, you're saying that that is a more positive, long-lasting chemical reaction to social interaction, as opposed to a empty social media hit of dopamine.
Yeah. So it was just, that was the last time I felt this. It was like a glow. It was, and sadly that was now over 2 years ago, but it was so warming. And then when people would talk about it, so I met with Fenner again, and we were talking about the spit, and they were like laughing and like recalling some of the things that I pulled them out on. And I was like, mate, I was so proud of myself that I was able to stand up and do it. And then for people to say how great it was, and it was like, you made my day. I was like, oh, that's like that. I can't tell you how much that means to me. And like, even weirdly now, Sean, now I'm talking about it, I had this little glow there. Like, it felt like I could reconnect to it. And obviously Facebook and, or some of these likes and posts that you want for approval are slightly different. And if I were to flip that around a little bit, to use an example, I was reading through my philosophy, and there was this just brilliant piece on when, and you may have seen, I don't know if you commented or saw it, but you may have seen it, because I don't post hardly anything on Facebook. So if you do see something from me, it's a rarity. But I talked about, as we're coming into this really difficult time, that we just need to refocus on our fundamentals and, just take a look at how you eat, sleep, breathe, move, and how grateful you are, how you focus on yourself, be present, all these type of things. And I just gave a couple of points to each one, just like eating. And I just put a couple of, consider this, and sleeping, consider that. And I just thought, you know what, in my head, I know some people look at this, oh, what does he fucking know? Or, does he think he's an? I was like, I don't care if this reaches to one person and they can take 1 point, like, it's been worth it. But I had some really lovely messages from it, and people liking it and love hearts and stuff. And I was addicted to that post. I was checking it like every few hours. And then if someone looked, is there a comment? I'd be like, and I was looking at the likes at who liked it. And I was like, so-and-so hasn't liked it yet. And I was like, then starting to, what do you think, they haven't seen it? Or do you think that just didn't connect with it? And I started to go down that path. So this is someone that doesn't use it, but I caught myself, and I was wanting more. And then when it left a couple of days and then someone brought a comment, I had this like, a little like dopamine hit again. So I just wanted to share those couple of examples because I've had both, and I am still fallible for the dopamine hits, as every single other person is.
I find that those two examples, so the Facebook post and the and your experience being a public speaker and you know, feeling good about that you know, at the wedding, feeling good about that experience and the feedback you had and how that gave you this buzz. To me, that sounds the same in a way. It's just one's in a microcosm of social media, where if you were to take a look at that, so the way I view this is the way you see those, and I haven't read anything scientific about this. I did watch The Social Dilemma, by the way. But when we take a look at that situation where you gave that speech, all of those positive comments were no different than a Facebook comment to a certain degree. The only difference
I would disagree, but
the only difference being with social media, you now have an avenue to get that fix again. Whereas I think what you had was you had time to process that, you had time to walk away and look introspectively at it. Whereas on social media, you get that hit, people, you know, you put up a post that's really good. People say, thank you, that's impacted my life, which to me is very parallel to you giving a really good speech, having, you know, people give you good feedback on that, the likes, the whatever, what have you. And the difference being, it's like, great, that felt good. Now, subconsciously, I'm going to try to get that hit again. And I think this is where young people fall into. It's like, how do I get more of those likes? They're not necessarily consciously thinking that. But I see definite parallels in what you're talking about at that wedding to social media.
For sure. So and yeah, I would say they are. I don't know that we're disagreeing, to be honest. I think that
I don't think we are. I think we disagree on.
There are differences. There are key differences, and there are key differences between how you feel and how long you feel and the addictive nature of it. But ultimately, there are lots of similarities to which I would attest to. I think really to kind of dig down into the social media thing, because there's a distinct difference between there were multiple people that liked it or put a love heart for my Facebook comment that didn't leave a comment. So there was that like kind of addictive surface level kind of approach. But I know what I've also done is look at someone that's made an effort on something, like they've talked about their job or something, and just as I've been flicking, I've been like, oh, love heart or like, and it's been like I'll just show my appreciation, boom. Like I can't be bothered to comment. It obviously doesn't mean that much to me, but I'm just gonna. So it's a very surface level kind of showy. I'm just trying to do my thing and just acknowledge you a little bit, and that's where I want to really class a distinction. It's like maybe the same as someone smiling, walk. No, it's not. It's not the same as that. But I'm trying to think of a different what the equal would be with someone like doing a speech and giving feedback. But when people leave comments, and I had, there were a couple of comments in particular that I had a warm-hearted glow from, and actually when and you're talking about a few hours off the Facebook.
Talking about online or
off the Facebook comment. Yeah, there were a couple of comments where I felt it was meaningful, and people had taken the time and been like, I needed this or whatever it was. Like, thank you so much for that, and you speak so much truth, or especially this point, or whatever it was. Those that actually made the time to do that, I was like, that felt. I was like, I kind of shared a gift with someone, and they've appreciated it and shared that back, and that was lovely. So I think there are differences in that.
It's the more you explain it, the more you're selling me on there's not that many differences. It's okay. I'm hearing something totally different not totally different. I think largely we agree on the general thesis here of what happens when you get positive comments and how it makes you feel.
So sorry to cut you off, because I want to try and I still feel I can do that. I think I could do a better job of explaining this. So
listen, mate, you're just wrong. I think just accept that I've made a great point and it's over. Yeah,
and you win.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So what's going on next week? Go right ahead.
So with the wedding thing, when I walked away, I didn't need anything else. I was purely satisfied, and I walked away, and it was like, and that was with me, and I didn't need to speak to anyone. I didn't need to like, I'll text so and so to see how they feel. It's just like to hope that they mention how great. There was none of that. I didn't need it. I was just like really fulfilled for a long time, and it was weird how it sat with me. I remember having a conversation with my dad and with some other people. Oh, hey Bean, what you been up to? I was like, do you know what? I'm glowing. And it's just, I started talking about it and they didn't connect to it. They were like, they just couldn't understand. I was like, it's really hard. Like I am on a high at the moment, and it hasn't left me, and I feel fantastic as this speech. I was like, oh, well done. I was like, no, you don't understand. It's like, I need to try and do more of this. Whilst with the Facebook thing, I needed more. There was a pull to it, and it took my attention away, and I was focused on checking it to see if people had, and I even did things like I replied to a comment, so it maybe there'd be more, and I liked it to try and get more people to see it. It's fucking how sad it is, but it's the truth. Like I did that. Whilst I didn't have that need, there was my intention was totally different, and my reaction to it was very different. So I suppose maybe I haven't done a good job of explaining that, but I know how different it felt.
Yeah, I agree that, and I can't agree or disagree. It's going to have a different feeling. But so even then, the more you explain it, the more I think it's the same. So let me put it in a different context here, because you actually said the same thing there, the way I heard it. So you said, I didn't need that, I didn't need that immediate, gratification. So on Facebook, where you felt like you needed that other hit. But then you then said, I needed to do this again. I needed to do more of this, or I wanted to do more. And then you went to your father to speak to him. In a way, that's like, I'm going to put on it. So if we were to take that out of the social media realm, I find this is a more natural way to get those same hits. But the social media is like the fast food of that sort of approval, because I would expect, knowing you, and you and I are very similar, I would do the same thing. You would have been contemplating, is this something I can do more of? Is this something I can do more professionally? Is this something I can help people with? Because it made you feel good. But that has a slower burn, that process. It's a more healthy process. And I'm not saying what you're doing isn't normal, isn't healthy. I think that is the same process that happens in a very small microcosm on social media. And that's where I think you then have an unhealthy level of action reaction to get approval. You don't have to go through the work of, so what do I have to do to start speaking more publicly and to do X, Y, and Z on social media? It's like, how do I get those likes again? So you're finding a more quick burn, less efficacious way of getting getting progress to a specific goal. And I see that there's this is the whole thing that I think the algorithm plays off of. It's off of what will be a normal process of, I feel good, I'm going to talk to people about it. I need to find communities that I can talk to people about this. Oh, there's a, so if we look at your martial arts, there's a, what do you do again?
I did. I don't do anything now, but I used to do
Cobra Kai.
Grappling.
Submission grappling.
Cobra Kai, yeah.
What was your dojo? But we used to do submission grappling, and that was, okay, I can go there. There's a community that I can go, and I can physically learn to do something. Where on social media, you can become an armchair expert for likes, and you can put very shoddy content out there that needs very little qualification from experts to get that same hit. And I think when we look at social media, I think those two situations for me parallel very closely in some respects. It's just where they branch off is a healthy and an unhealthy direction. Where in your direction, in your direction,
it's the equivalent. Sorry, Sean. Sorry, carry on.
Fucking hell! No, I'm kidding. So I'm rabbiting on. So in your direction, it's a healthy. I'm going to explore this in a very normal, and I'm going to take my time and I'm going to reflect on it, and I'm not going to be getting false feedback from people online that know little about me or my experience in public speaking, saying "Great job, Hugh." You're going to be going through a process of, okay, so this is what I need. Whereas on social media, you put on a post that makes people feel good. You don't need much information to probably get a false sense of where you're at in that endeavor. And I think that's where those differences are. I'll shut up now.
So apologies for cutting you off there, mate, because I've already cut you off earlier. So I don't like to do that.
I cut you off as well. I'm doing that right now.
That's fine. I see this argument as, I think I'm looking at it more nuanced than yourself, and that I can, it's like the equivalent of eating fast food and eating whole foods. They both fill you up. They both satisfy you. You can then go about your day. But the after effects are distinctly different. There's no, it's there's no kind of gray area in that. There is a distinct difference of how you feel 3 hours on and straight after the meal, where like drowsy. Fast food is like drowsiness. You're then starving in 4 hours because you crave that stuff you just put in your body, whilst a healthy meal with good fats and proteins and carbs will kind of sustain you for longer. You won't have this like peaks and troughs, and without carbs, you won't feel kind of like that kind of sluggish feeling. That's the kind of metaphor I'm kind of using here. So I wasn't, when I just sat down and felt, I haven't felt this good in so long. Like, probably the last time I felt like this was when, like, at PGL doing something, like my last day there, and the love I received, I was glowing for ages, because again, I think it was just showered with love, and it was just, you couldn't knock me for that time. And I thought, like, I need to be doing more things where it's truly meaningful, and I'm like challenging myself, because I feel like, not like, oh, I need this. It wasn't like a burning desire and I've got to do something, look at it tomorrow. I just thought that this really does make life worth living when you feel this wonderful. And it's, sadly, at my age, I haven't got enough of those, really, if I'm being honest. So the Facebook feel was very much the fast food. And let's be clear with this as well. Like, I don't use Facebook very often at all. You could put, on the two hands, you could have I've not done many more posts than 10 in my entire life of being on it. And I've been on it for, 10 plus years or something now. I don't know, a long time anyway. But the post that I did was probably not your standard Facebook post that most people will put on there. I wasn't like, oh, please look at me, tell me how great I am. It was kind of, it may have come across like that, but my pure intention was, I've just read something and I was like, I have to share that with people, because there might be someone that could really benefit from it. And that's how I try to live as a human being. So it was genuinely a gift to people. I was trying, like, and I was prepared for people. Some of my mates I know would have read that and taken a piss out of me. I know that. And I didn't care about that. I didn't care about being publicly kind of shamed or what the fuck you on about, Hugh type of thing. I was prepared to put myself out there negatively to try and help a couple of people think about certain things, and maybe that would just take the edge off. So even though I did it in that way, it was coming from that, rather than, oh, check out my new beard, or look at my new car, or money. It wasn't like that and trying to get hits and likes. I was just trying to help people, and yet it still hooked me in. It still made me feel like I needed to respond and check, and I craved more attention to it. So I still, funny enough, I smiled when you were talking, because I was like, no, when I'm hearing you talk, I just think I'm even more right by, like, I could see the distinct differences. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to cover this through, because, please share your comments on this, that for those 11 of you that are watching, because it'd be really interesting to kind of see who's right. No, but like what you think of this, and whether or not you can purely see from Shaw's point of view how this all works together, or you see a more of a kind of a nuanced difference between them, and share your experiences from that. I'd be interested to know.
I think we agree that the building blocks are very similar. If we even look at the first, when you compare those two situations, the foundation for those, or even in your example with fast food and regular food, the foundation for what gratifies you are there. It's just, the follow through, I think, is where it's nuanced and evolved.